Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Tropical update number 30 on the year. Today's Wednesday, August 11th. Tropical Storm Fred and Invest 95L are two things to talk about. As we can see, the cone here for Fred. Fred's going to become a tropical depression here shortly as it makes its way north of the coast of Cuba to the Florida Keys, then up just off of the Florida coast into the Florida Panhandle. So that's the general idea we're looking at with Fred. Tropical storm warnings and watches in effect for much of the Atlantic seaboard of the Caribbean islands, if that makes sense. We also have an area of interest, Invest 95L, located about halfway between the Leeward Islands and the coast of Africa. We're going to be watching that for potential development. That will be the second feature we talk about today. Fred has winds of 40 miles an hour, currently located about halfway into the Dominican Republic. Those large mountains really going to bring down the strength of Fred somewhat decently. Tropical storm warnings remain in effect from Punta Palenque northward to the border with Haiti. That is, that area, Punta Palenque is on the southern coast of the Dominican Republic, and then we'll take the long way around to the border with Haiti. Then for Haiti, all the way from the Dominican Republic border to Gonaives, we have a tropical storm watch. Turks and Caicos, Southeastern Bahamas, and Eastern Cuba also on tropical storm watches. As I mentioned, Tropical Storm Fred was named last night from potential Tropical Cyclone 6 and is currently inland over the Dominican Republic. Next, partial advisory at 8 and full advisory at 11 p.m. Most likely time of arrival winds could begin as early as very early Saturday morning for the Florida Keys, South Florida by Saturday about sunrise time. Although you might not be able to see the sun, and then we could see landfalling winds, the winds, tropical storm force winds for the area experiencing landfall Sunday night as it makes its way into the Florida Panhandle. So that's what we're looking at right now. Nothing too crazy. As we can see, the storm isn't off the charts in terms of wind speed intensity, but rain will be concerned. 3 to 5, isolated 8 for the Dominican Republic, Western Bahamas, Florida Keys, and Southern Florida. We're also looking at 1 to 3 inches, isolated to 5 for Haiti, the Turks and Caicos, Eastern Bahamas, and across Cuba. So again, rain, wind, the main concerns, more of a rainmaker than anything, but of course water is the deadliest thing in tropical cyclones, and so that's why, of course, this is a potential threat, not only to the Hispaniola, Cuba, and Bahamas, but also to the United States. And as we can see, general consensus again beginning to narrow, shifting a little bit over to the west, just nudging on to the Florida Panhandle. We do see, however, the GEFS ensembles, that's the American ensembles, still has Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama in play for a potential landfall with this storm. So that's what we're looking at with Fred. The European model has almost exclusively a Florida landfalling event. And of course, if we see, and there's really not a whole lot of model support until it regains its strength after getting torn up over Hispaniola. So we're going to be watching this storm as it will be about a week until this storm, 5 days until it makes landfall in the United States, most likely. And then potentially a few more days sitting inland making rainfall. Won't be sitting in one spot, but moving inland. We see intensity forecasts bringing Fred to about a mid-range tropical storm by the time we could have a potential U.S. landfall. Potentially a bit stronger, potentially a bit weaker. Again, we'll see what happens once Fred regains its strength on the other side of Hispaniola. Invest 95L now with 50% chance of formation within the next 5 days. We'll be watching it as it makes its way toward the Windward Islands. The next NHC forecast will be at 8 p.m. this evening. The general consensus is the northern Windward Islands, just like Fred was. And then Puerto Rico, Hispaniola certainly in play later down the line. It's kind of up in the air. If it takes a northward route out to sea, we could potentially see a strong hurricane out of this. Takes a more southern route, hits those mountains, Hispaniola and Cuba like Fred is. It's going to be much like Fred. Regardless, we are certainly looking at a potential hurricane force landfall for either Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, or wherever this storm is 5 days from now. Again, Category 1 certainly on the table with this storm. That doesn't mean that it's going to be Category 1. We don't even have a center of the storm yet. It's very hard to say where the center is going to go. Then, of course, it's also hard to label an intensity on that. As I mentioned, again, if it goes north and out to sea, it's generally trending stronger than if it takes a southern track and threatens land. But nonetheless, we could still see slightly stronger than Fred, but by no means a super strong tropical cyclone making its way into Caribbean nations, and then perhaps even Atlantic nations such as the Bahamas in the United States. So we'll see exactly what happens with Invest 95L. We'll be keeping an eye on that and Fred over the next few days, as they will certainly be something to talk about. The good news is nothing too crazy behind these two storms, at least as the signal shows right now. So we'll have two and then perhaps a little bit of a break. But again, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves on these storms yet. That's over now. Chris Sixton with Other Catholic Media.